Hello guys. Before I start this week's video, I just want to give a quick shout out to my very lovely and talented friend Vedha. So if you guys have noticed in my previous videos, there has been background noise, but she has edited out the background noise and so the sound quality should be much clearer. And she's also made my outro card. So Vedha, if you're watching this, I really appreciate you volunteering your time to do this for me, and I really love you so much. And also, check out her and my friend Anu's podcast. I will have it linked in the description below. It's called Immortal Knowledge, and all three of us would really appreciate it if you did check it out. Alright guys, enjoy the video. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's topic is something that's kind of been on my mind for the past couple of days, and it's basically how silence shouldn't be seen as a weakness. Now, when I say silence, I don't mean being silent about obvious injustices and inhumane things. That's something that we should always be vocal about and always take action on. Otherwise, we don't really progress as a society. But when I mean silence, I guess what I mean is when it comes to confronting somebody or, I guess, arguing about something. I mean, you have obviously people who are very in your face, whether it's vocally or physically, and then you have people that can still argue their point, but do it in a very calm and collected manner. And I think that, in my personal opinion, when with the media that we've been fed and everything that we see, I think sometimes anger is definitely seen as power. Because, someone who beats up the bad guy or gets into a fist fight or something, or, gets revenge on someone, they're seen as tough and badasses. But then someone, I think sometimes who just basically, they still get the issue resolved, but they do it in a very calm and collected manner. I think sometimes people can be like, oh, okay, but there's no show for it. Like, they just did it, and they could have been more aggressive or whatever. And I think that's very dumb sometimes to think that just because someone has, if they have something to show for it in terms of, let's say, they physically beat up someone, that they're seen as more of a badass than someone who, completely resolved that conflict without getting their, without hurting anyone physically or even hurting anyone emotionally too. And I think for those who like avoiding anger and confrontation, it's not that they don't get angry or upset or annoyed. They just have, I guess, a different way of dealing with it. And to some, if they show their anger or they show their upsetness, it actually makes them feel guilty because obviously they feel like they're hurting the other person that they're showing that emotion to. So instead, when they feel those emotions, they just want to be left alone sometimes. And maybe they blow off their steam through crying or through a hobby or through sleeping, whatever it may be. But they want to do that alone because they don't want to do something or say something that they're going to regret later. And I think, like I said, I think sometimes people can see this as weak, and they can even egg them on to fight back and be like, oh, you're just gonna walk away, you're not gonna do anything, okay, wow, how weak. And I think that's really dumb. I think that if someone chooses to remove themselves from a situation for a while and deal with the raw emotions that they have at that moment in a constructive way, that's not weakness at all. I think that's very much a strong thing to do. And I don't think that we should see, obviously, people's silence as weakness in that case, and we should encourage them to continue doing what they're doing, and we should encourage ourselves and the people around us to also constructively use that volatile energy. And obviously, those emotions come from something very raw. They are raw emotions. And I think sometimes, even when it comes to dealing with these emotions calmly, I think sometimes people can be like, oh, well, they're just emotions. Emotions don't mean anything. Just ignore them. Now, I don't also believe in completely ignoring emotions, and I don't think that they're just phases and they shouldn't be listened to. But I think that there's definitely a constructive way of using those emotions. And I say not to completely just discard emotions because they're an indication that something is wrong or something is right. And I believe that they come from intuition. And if you guys have watched my previous videos, you know that I am a big believer in intuition. I think that having an intuition is something that is kind of like our guardian angel. It protects us. And emotion comes from that. Like, let's say you have this feeling, like your gut feeling that your partner might be cheating on you, and you find out that it's true. Obviously, that raw emotion of upsetness, it doesn't mean that it's invalid. Obviously, you would be upset, but it's how you choose to deal with that upset emotion later. Do you decide to completely, like, just go ballistic and cry out your eyes for every waking moment for the rest of your life or for a majority of your life? Or do you decide, okay, I'm going to let myself grieve about this for a little bit, but then I'm going to move on with my life and I'm going to learn something from it? And that's why I think emotions are important. I think that we can use those raw emotions to educate ourselves. Like with this example, let's say that, okay, you are upset, obviously, that your partner cheated on you, but now you know what you won't settle for in life in a partner. You know the qualities that you won't settle for. You know what you expect of yourself and you look for in a partner. And lastly, you also learn that, maybe for some time, you don't need to necessarily be with someone to feel happy or complete. But that none of that self-discovery would have happened if you hadn't felt that raw emotion. And I think also when it comes to acting, I feel like there's a big culture of just do it now and think later. And I think this comes with emotions such as anger or, upsetness. It's like, okay, yeah, just lash out at them now. Get your feelings out there, give them a piece of your mind and think about the consequences later. And I don't completely agree with that as well, because if we just keep acting on our raw emotions like that, I don't think we ever sit down and truly analyze why we're feeling them. And that's very important, because if we don't do that, if we just start lashing out at people all the time, it destroys our relationship with ourselves and the people around us, because it's a completely natural to get upset with someone or to feel a negative emotion sometimes, even though that person might be like, a very integral part of your life. Because everyone, like I said, everyone can't make us happy all the time. There's going to be times when we're upset with people. Does that mean we don't love them? No. But it just means that we need to figure out how we're going to resolve that conflict without hurting them and without hurting ourselves. Because when we destroy our own relationships that way, it does hurt us later, because we start to realize that, we haven't built a healthy way to process our emotions. And I think that the so-called, being silent about things or trying to mediate things peacefully is something that is a skill that's obviously, you get it with time. It doesn't happen overnight, but it's a very important skill to have. And I think that we can all benefit from it, obviously. And I just want to say that, if you're someone who is, you identify as one of those people that, you don't like necessarily upsetting people, or you don't like yelling at people or doing anything of that sort because you're afraid you're going to hurt their feelings, don't feel bad about it. Maybe sometimes people are telling you that you should be more outspoken, then people will take you more seriously, or this or that. And to that, I say someone should still be able to take you seriously, even if you're not, so-called being, aggressive in that sense. And if you choose to do something out of, still wanting to mediate the relationship, you can still have your voice heard, you can still speak your truth and not do it in a very harmful, confrontational way. And if other people are starting to make you feel bad about it, then please don't. For me personally, I think it's better to talk it out peacefully than create a misunderstanding that maybe someone might never want to talk to you again. I think it's not worth it. I think this also ties into the part of, I think sometimes we have this culture as well of like, oh, don't say sorry first because, that makes you look weak. Like, no, if you know you've done something wrong or you feel bad about something, there's nothing wrong with apologizing about it. I think that it's not a sign of weakness as well. We all make mistakes, and that comes back to accountability. If we know that we've done something wrong, we need to apologize about it. We need to take accountability for it, because that's how we actually grow as people as well. When we hold ourselves responsible for things, we start to actually feel better, because we realize, okay, I have control over how I process my emotions and how I'm going to act. And we stop blaming everything on other people and thinking that, oh, the whole world is out to get me. I think that's also a negative mindset to have. And last but not least, I also want to say that if you are someone that you find that you do have a lot of that like aggressive anger, and you do tend to lash out at people and you regret it later, there's there's always room to improve, and don't beat yourself down for that. If you've done things in the past that you definitely feel bad about, see if you can go and apologize to those people. Like I said, again, apologizing never makes anyone weak. And also find ways to harness the volatile energy from your emotions properly. And think of it as, we all get these emotions. We all get anger. We all get angry. We all get upset. We all have these things. No matter how nice of a person we are, we all feel them. It's just how we handle them that makes us who we are, and how we feel about ourselves as well. Because I guarantee you, even if you feel like you've gotten revenge on someone or something, it's never, I don't believe in the thing of like sweet revenge, because like, yeah, maybe you got your revenge, but like, really, did it help the situation? No. Did you guys resolve your conflict? Probably not. So learn how to use that energy to help yourself. Learn something from it and grow from it. Because I'm just going to take like this science analogy. We all learn that, energy isn't created or destroyed. It's just transferred between different forms. And in a way, the energy we get from our emotions, it's also transferred between different forms. And we also all know that, as we transfer energy, sometimes we release heat, and heat, it's not really like something productive. But think about it that way sometimes too. Like, when you're transferring your energy or you're transferring your anger, like, do you really want to just create more like unrest in your life, unrest in your relationships? I really don't think so. So try to transfer your energy in a productive way, whether that's, through meditating, through finding a hobby, releasing your outlet that way, or even if you want to cry, there's nothing wrong with crying. Now, don't cry to a point where, obviously you're crying every day and you can't function. Maybe there's something more deep-seated there and you should seek help for it. But every once in a while, there's nothing wrong with letting yourself cry. In fact, crying releases the stress hormone cortisol, so it's perfectly healthy. And if that helps you feel like, you have a clean slate and you can think with a clear mind, then go ahead, do it. Or take a day for yourself and just, if you've not been sleeping properly, sleep. Or you've not been eating properly, eat. Like, sometimes even just taking care of yourself, like, you let all those emotions pile up in you and you've neglected, eating properly, sleeping properly, taking care of yourself. Sometimes just taking care of yourself can even help those things. But yeah, just think of, when you get those feelings of anger or any negative emotion, think of it as, okay, I have this volatile energy now. How am I going to use it to help myself and help preserve the relationships around me and the positivity around me that I have? And it's not to say that, I'm not going to sugarcoat things here and be like, you're always going to feel happy or you're always going to feel positive. There are definitely going to be times when you feel negative and you feel like the world is out to get you and you don't see anything positive. But don't make that your reality. Acknowledge that you feel that way sometimes and deal with it in a healthy way. Don't let that become your reality and cement it as your truth. Try to see why you're feeling those negative emotions and emerge from it a stronger person. So I hope this video helped you guys, and please do like this video if you enjoyed it, and please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye everyone, take care.